right, thank your partner, and now let's take a look at the rest of the first activity. So we'll look at the introduction to the chapter. That's at the bottom of page 60. Now you'll remember in chapter 3, you learned about how to prevent accidents, but sometimes incidents happen. An incident means something bad, all right? So something that happens. Now, children sometimes get hurt, don't they? Have you seen children get hurt? Yes. Adults get hurt too, right? Okay, but when we're taking care of children, we especially want to be careful. But, you know, some things happen and we need to take care of them. So children sometimes get hurt or they might get sick. So that's also an incident. So incident and accident. Incident is more general. An accident, maybe the child fell down and scraped his elbow, all right? But maybe you say that a child got a cold. That's not an accident, but you need to report that as an incident on your report.
Accident is more specific?
Yes, that's right. An accident is more specific and an incident is more general. More general, right, right. Okay, so parents, teachers, and child care providers must respond. We must respond when something happens to our children. Not only our own children, but the children that we are taking care of, right? So adults must help and adults must get help. So sometimes we help the children and sometimes we don't help the children directly, but we get help from other people. We don't do everything ourselves. We get help from other people around us. Sometimes we get help from other child care providers at a child care center, from other teachers, or sometimes we call 911 and we get help from the emergency care workers like the paramedics. They can help us. All right, so we can get help from other people. And also we write reports. We write reports. So in this chapter, you will learn skills to discuss accidents and incidents. Now, on the top of page 61, we see some useful words, useful vocabulary, useful words for the reading. And let's go over those words, pronunciation and meaning. The first word is curious. So we talked about the word curious already, and it's an adjective. An adjective is a kind of word that describes something or describes someone. The word curious is an adjective that describes a person. And if someone is giving attention to something of interest, that means they're curious about it. So if I want to know more about your family, I can say, I'm curious about your family. Tell me more about it. If I see something, oh, what is this? I'm curious about this. What is it? What do you use this for? Oh, Miss Chan's happy hands. Oh, you use it for clapping. So if you're curious about something, that means you want to know more about it. Now, the next phrase is to seem like a lifetime. To seem like a lifetime. First of all, the word lifetime means the whole length of your life. So some people have a short lifetime. They die early. They die young. Some people have a long lifetime. They live for many, many, many years. They have a long lifetime. Okay, now, what does it mean when you say it seems like a lifetime? It means that time seems to go very slowly, right? Slowly. If you enjoy something, does the time go slowly or quickly? If you enjoy it, if you like something, if it's enjoyable, does the time seem to go quickly? Yes, right. We have an expression in English. We say, time flies when you're having fun. Have you heard this before? Time flies when you're having fun. That means when you're enjoying yourself, you're having fun, so time goes very fast. Okay, but when you're having a bad time, when you suffer, when you feel pain, when you're scared, when you're depressed, then time doesn't go fast. Time goes slowly. It seemed like to seem like a lifetime means even though the time is not very long in minutes or hours or days, it seems long because you don't feel comfortable or you don't feel happy about it. Okay? Let me hear you say lifetime. Lifetime. To seem like a lifetime. Okay, so this is a verb phrase. Here's another word, narrow. Narrow is an adjective that means not wide. For example, if we describe a street, some streets are narrow and other streets are very wide. How about Mission College Boulevard? Is that narrow or is that wide? Wide. That's wide, right. How about Great America Parkway? Is that narrow or is that wide? Wide. Right. Now, Mission College Boulevard is wide until you get to the campus. So for many miles, it's wide. But when you get to Mission College, then the road becomes becomes narrower. And it goes around the college. So at the end, where we are at the college, the road is narrower. But the rest of Santa Clara and farther away, the road is wider. So wide is the opposite of narrow. Narrow is the opposite of wide. Right. Okay, so let's talk about the next word, tunnel. 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 A tunnel, that's a noun. A tunnel is an underground passage. So let's say there's some land here. Maybe there's like a mountain and you want to go to the other side. Well, maybe you can go up and over it, or maybe you can drill a hole and go through the tunnel. So the tunnel might go like this underneath, or the tunnel might go down underneath like that. Okay, so it means you have to go underneath the ground to get there. That's called a tunnel. 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 Okay. The next word is equipment. Equipment. Okay, can you see my lips when I put the lips together for the letter P? Equipment. Equipment. So this is a noun. Equipment is a noun. It means all of the things you need in order to complete a job. So when you're doing a job, there are many things that you need to have in order to make the job go well. For example, my daughter is a chemical engineer and she's a field engineer. She works outdoors. She does not do her work by herself. They have a big team and they have lots and lots of equipment. So they have to drive big trucks. I don't think she drives the big ones, but somebody does. And they have other special equipment that they use to drill holes in the ground and shoot water and chemicals. They have different kinds of equipment. So you use equipment for all the different kinds of machinery that you need in order to do a job. Let's say that word, equipment. Equipment. Okay, let me hear equipment. Equipment. Okay, the next word is treatment. Treatment. Do you see that both of these words have the same suffix, the same ending, M-E-N-T? That means both of these words are nouns. When we see M-E-N-T suffix, we know it's a noun. All right, because we have the verb to equip, and the stuff is called equipment. We have the verb to treat, and the noun form is treatment. So, for example, if you are ill, if you are sick, then maybe a doctor or a nurse or another health care provider can give you a treatment. And if you get a treatment, that means some sort of care for your health problem. Okay, so if you have a health problem, I hope you can get some treatment. Maybe the treatment, for example, yesterday I took my mother to the hospital, and as I was leaving, she just had an appointment with her doctor, and as I was leaving, I ran into an old friend. And so I asked him about I asked him, how are you? How's your wife? How's your child? Because I hadn't seen him for, a year. I haven't seen him for a long time. And we just bumped into each other at the hospital. And he told me that he needed to have treatment because he was in a car accident. He was driving on the freeway, and somebody behind him wasn't paying attention. You know how it gets very heavy traffic and you have stop and go sometimes on the freeway? Have you experienced that? Okay, so somebody behind my friend was texting. Okay, let's stop and text. So she crashed into my friend, and his baby was in the car. So he could see in his rear view mirror that the car was coming fast, but they were already stopped. And he immediately turned around to see his baby in the back seat, in the car seat. And so when he got hit, you see his body was turned. And he got hit, and now his body's all out of alignment. And his car hit the car in front of him. And that car hit the car in front of it. So a lot of cars were damaged, and people got injured. Yeah. So he told me he had his accident 5 months ago or more, and he's out of work, and he has to have treatments for different parts of his body that ache. He doesn't have any broken bones, but we have a lot of muscles and a lot of tissue that can be twisted and injured. So he was there for his treatment. So anyway, that's a lesson. I guess we need to pay attention, not to use our phones and text during driving, okay? Because it's so dangerous. It's very dangerous. Be careful about that. Some students we know here at Mission College had huge accidents. One of our students died on the phone, talking to her fiance. You know fiance? She's planning to get married. So it's your boyfriend or someone you're going to marry. This person will become your husband or wife. That's what we call as fiance. So I guess they were talking on the phone, and she was driving, and she was, sometimes when you're talking, you're talking and thinking about what subject you're talking about, and you're not paying attention to the road. She crashed into a tree. And lost her life. So let us learn from those lessons, because I would like you to have a long lifetime. Would you like to have a long lifetime? A safe and healthy lifetime, right? So I hope that you don't have to have too many treatments in your life. But we should know this word and know how to use it. So let's talk about the reading. Here's activity. Did you read the story? Yes. Okay. Did you understand it? Yes. Okay, good. It's not a hard story. I think we can feel very comfortable reading the story. Would you like to hear me read to you? Yes. Okay. So today during story time, Raquel reads the following story to her preschoolers. Do you remember Raquel? Yes. Who is she? She's a child care provider. She's a teacher of the children, okay? And she wants to talk to the children about incidents and about what happens in this story. So the story is called Baby Jessica. Baby Jessica. On October 14th, 1987, Reba McClure was at her sister's house in Midland, Texas. Jessica, her 18-month-old daughter, liked to play at her aunt's home child care center. Reba was watching Jessica and 4 other boys and girls while they were playing in the yard. In the yard, there was an old well. A rock covered the 8-inch opening of the well. One toddler was curious about the rock. When Jessica's mother stepped into the house to answer the telephone, the toddler rolled the rock away from the hole. Suddenly, baby Jessica fell into the deep well and disappeared. The children were screaming, so Reba ran back to the yard. The children pointed to the well. Immediately, Rita put her hand down into the well, but she could not reach her little girl. She was terrified. She called 911 on the phone. In 3 minutes, police officers, firefighters, paramedics, and other rescue workers arrived. To Reba, 3 minutes seemed like a lifetime. She could only think about getting her baby out of the well. She cried, "I can't let my baby die. I must get her out." Jessica was 20 feet down. The well was very narrow, so the rescuers could not go inside it. They needed to drill another hole next to the well. Then they could make a tunnel across to her. This way, they hoped to bring her up without injury. A lot of equipment arrived. The rescuers pumped air down into the well so Jessica could breathe. They used a big drill to make a hole in the ground. They drilled into solid rock for 57 hours. They did not stop. They wanted to reach Jessica before she suffered too long from cold. Reba and the rescuers kept talking to Jessica through the hole. Sometimes Jessica cried. Sometimes she sang. Sometimes she was quiet for 30 or 40 minutes. Oh, a long time. Maybe she was sleeping, but then everyone worried even more. Reba sang songs and repeated Jessica's favorite nursery rhymes. She often shouted, "Don't let my baby die." Finally, on Friday, October 16th, at 7:55 p.m., the exhausted rescuers lifted Jessica out of the well. The baby was extremely dirty, bruised, hungry, thirsty, and tired. Her right foot and her forehead were badly injured. The paramedics rushed her to the hospital for treatment. Baby Jessica was alive. Everyone greeted her with cheers of happiness and relief. Of course, her mother was the happiest person of all. Do you understand the story? Yes. Now, on the next page, on page 62, we have some comprehension questions. How many questions do you see on this page? 10. There are 10 questions. Would you like to tell me what you think the answers are? Let's talk about what happened. So, number 1 says, this story is about how to handle accidents at child care centers, or the rescue of a little girl, or wells at child care centers. Which one do you choose? You choose B, this story is about the rescue of a little girl. Okay, very good. Number 2, when Jessica fell into the well, where was her mother? She was rolling the stone back onto the well. She was in the house. She was in the yard. Which answer do you choose? She was in the house when Jessica fell into the well. Number 3, Jessica's mother came running because she was angry at the toddler for moving the stone. She wanted to get the attention of the rescuers. She heard the children in the yard screaming. Which answer do you choose? She heard the children in the yard screaming. They were screaming, and that's the reason that Jessica's mother came running back from the house to the yard. Number 4, what did Jessica's mother do to help Jessica? She helped the rescuers drill a hole to reach Jessica. She reached inside the well to give Jessica some food. She called 911. What did she do to help Jessica? She called 911. That's the emergency number. That's easy for you to remember, right? What is an emergency number that you need to dial? 911, right. Okay, number 5 is the rescuers were most afraid that Jessica might get too cold, too hungry, or too thirsty. Which one were they most afraid of? The rescuers were most afraid that Jessica might get too cold. That's correct. And number 6, what did the rescuers and Reba do to help Jessica during the drilling? They talked to her. They sent food down to her. They sent warm blankets down to her. They talked to her. They talked to her. And not only did they talk to her, they also sang to her. Now, you know some songs, right? So if this ever happens, you can sing some songs in English, right? Okay, I hope this doesn't happen. But maybe when children are nervous, you can help them calm down by talking to them, by singing to them, by saying some nursery rhymes, and getting their mind away from worries. Number 7, what did Jessica do during the rescue? She made no sound at all. She crawled. She cried, sang, and slept. She cried, sang, and slept. Now notice these are past tense verbs. Cry, past tense, cried. Sing, past tense, sang. Sleep, past tense, slept. So she cried, sang, and slept. Number 8, Jessica's rescue took a long time because the rescuers did not have enough equipment. The rescuers' equipment was broken. The rescuers had to drill through solid rock. What answer is it? The third one, the C. The rescuers had to drill through solid rock. If something is very solid, it's very, very hard. Not easy to go through. If there was dirt, that would be soft. But rock is extremely hard. So when you drill through something extremely hard, it takes a long time, doesn't it? Okay, number 9. How long was Jessica in the well? 1 day, 2 days, 3 days? 3 days. How long was she in the well? 3 days? Yes, more than 2 days. Almost 3 days. How many hours is that? 57 hours? Okay, so that's more than 2 days. How many hours are there in 1 day? 24 hours. And how many are there in 2 days? 48 hours. And in 3 days? 72 hours. So this answer could be more than 2 days, right? If you say 2 or 3, you will probably be very close to the right answer because we don't have an exact number.
So 3 days, no?
Well, I would say almost 3 days, or I would say more than 2 days. Don't choose 1 day. Okay?
Almost
All right.
3 days.
Almost 3 days. That would be that I would accept that answer as a good answer. Or if you said more than 2 days, that's a good answer also. Now, how about number 10? Jessica's story has a happy ending because the baby was dirty, bruised, hungry, thirsty, and tired. Or because Jessica did not suffer any injuries from her accident. Or because the rescuers brought Jessica out alive. Jessica's story has a happy ending because the rescuers brought Jessica out alive. Alive. What does alive mean? Alive. Well, what's the opposite of alive? Dead. Right. The opposite is dead. D-E-A-D. Dead. Dead. So these are opposites. Dead or alive. Dead or alive. All right. Now the word brought is the past tense of bring. Bring. So notice the sentence says the rescuers brought Jessica out alive. And this is the past tense of the verb bring. Now, this is a very interesting story. So we have some interesting discussion questions for us to talk about in an activity 3. I'm going to help you pronounce the sentences, and then I'll let you talk it over with your group. Number 1. Repeat after me, please. A hazard is something dangerous. Like the well in this story. What other hazards to young children in a family's yard? Ooh, I forgot one word. What are other hazards to young children in a family's yard? That means we already know that the well is a big hazard. Now, because you know about taking care of children and you know about some things in the yard, you and your group can talk about some other dangerous things, some other hazards that if you are a child care provider, you need to be especially careful to prevent accidents, to make those hazards disappear, to get rid of them. Now, number 2, people around the world heard about Jessica McClure's accident on TV and radio. They followed her story for many days, weeks, and years. Why is her story so important? Number 3, do you know a child who had an accident? Tell your group what happened. When you're listening to a classmate, ask the speaker a question about his or her story. So look at me, please. This time, I want you to get into groups of 3 or 4 students. So make a group of 3 or 4 so you have more ideas that you can share when you ask and answer these discussion questions. Go ahead.